welcome to the latest health news that you will not see on the mainstream media. It's a surprise why less is more when it comes to exercise. Chronic cardio can present some negative health consequences. It says according to research, overtraining may actually disrupt several sociological systems that elevate levels of the stress hormone called cortisol and hurt the heart, creating for many people anything but the picture of health. So sometimes it's not necessarily having more exercise. Everybody wants to put this label on things and say this is the way you should do it, just like when it comes to dieting and food, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. Okay, I do a simple 8-minute ab workout and I'm happy with that. I'm in pain for days, right? And then when I make a routine, and then it becomes more, I get more used to it, and then I could intensify it by the more I contract, and I can just contract, and that within itself is a good workout. I could just do some nice deep breathing. I breathe out as I go up because I know that helps contract my stomach even more. There's different techniques to it. Am I doing the exercise correctly? Some of those questions have to also be considered when it comes to exercise. Are you even stretching before your exercise routine, right? And it doesn't have to just be cardio. In fact, cardio has been shown to be the most stressful on your body. In many cases, you're looking at most aging. So sometimes it's just simple curls, that boost your metabolism, right? It says, to be clear, excessive exercise isn't a problem for most of us. Quite the opposite, actually. Just look at these stunning statistics from the HIIT. It says only 1 in 3 adults achieve the minimum recommended amount of physical activity every week. Less than 5% of adults get 30 minutes of physical activity every day. And more than 80% of adults and adolescents do not meet the minimum guidelines for aerobic activity. So, it's crazy there. But it says the typical adult should aim for 150 to 300 minutes per week of aerobic exercise performed at moderate intensity, 50 to 70% of max heart rate. At a minimum, this works out to be about 30 minutes of exercise on most days of the week. Most days, so it's not even every day, right? And so it doesn't need to be that all that much. And the same goes with being out in the sun, right? If you are in more of a sunny weather, certainly not where I live right now, sadly, but if you have the sun, easily available where you can suntan, it doesn't have to be more than 30 minutes either, and then maybe you don't necessarily need as much sunscreen, for example. So don't limit yourself to certain ways of thinking. Really expand outside the box. Really experiment with your body. What do you like to do best? How could you implement that more within your lifestyle? How could you make it effective? Is it effective enough for you? Do you feel pain? Do you have to switch it up every day? Do you have to do, arms one day, abs the next day? You want to do full body workout the other day? Do you want to do it with somebody because that keeps you more motivated? Do you need a health coach to keep you more motivated? Do you need to develop a routine or a schedule to do that? It says want to save on time, then up the intensity. Exactly. That's why there's things called HIIT workouts, high intensity interval training. And that's actually becoming something really popular now within training because it's fast and you have breaks. So people can just rush and then stop and then rush and then stop, and they like that, right? And it gives them high impact in low time. It says it's also within the recommendations to aim for 75 to 150 minutes per week of exercise performed at rigorous intensity. I believe also the World Health Organization recommends that amount. And it says notice that this rigorous exercise does not have to take more than 15 to 30 minutes of your day on most days of the week. All right, so that's a very short amount of time. Considering how much sometimes people will sit there on the treadmill on their phones at the gym, where there's a lot of superbugs, as I covered in my previous videos. Maybe it's just being at home. First of all, you're saving time. And then second of all, you're closer to your, superfood smoothies or whatever that you need, full of protein and carbohydrates, so you gain muscle mass after the workout, or caffeine or honey before, your workout to increase, your motivation there. I don't know, but you're there at home, and then you could also relax, faster. Maybe you want to do it right before bed. It helps you go to sleep. Maybe you want to do it right there in the morning. It helps you gain energy. It's funny because the same foods that help you sleep are sometimes the same foods that give you energy, the same foods that help you lose weight, the same foods that help you go to the gym better, right? It only makes sense. These foods are meant for your body. So in other words, sure, it's high intensity, but it's also low volume, and that's good for avoiding overtraining, right? You don't want all these problems. Maybe you need some gloves too. Maybe you need the right equipment. It says, and last but not least, add in some strength training at least twice per week and avoid sitting too much, right? It could even be just walking, right? Just walking. incredible exercise for people. As you see, I'm in my chair, I'm like going like this, right? But at least it gets me going. I'm putting that energy out there. I'm putting it through my voice. Sometimes even your brain, right? It's going to burn a lot of calories. But yeah, exercise, different parts of your body, not just the arms, not just the abs, but also the brain, but also the gut. Is the gut getting its good bacteria that it needs? I have to mention that because that's the root to all disease. So please make sure that you find that bigger picture to what health is for you, and exercise is a big part of it. So please check that out and see, how much exercise do I need? Is it this much? Is it that much? Well, let's look into it, right?